A lot of work we do at Anistic is estimating the level of savings you're going to get from a project. I mean, if you think about it, is the nuts and bolts of this whole net zero kind of push, isn't it? Is to reduce your carbon down. It's all very well complying with legislation, ESOS, SCCR, etc., and sort of measuring your carbon footprint. That's a good thing. If you don't know where you're starting from, how do you know sort of where you're heading to, etc., all of those sort of clever things there. But how do you estimate the savings from the kind of various initiatives that you might sort of have in mind? Okay, so that's what this video is about. It's, I suspect, of particular interest if you're doing ESOS updates, the progress update 1 that's happening late 25, or progress update 2 in late 26, or an ESOS energy action plan, or if you just have some ideas about projects that you want to do that you think, well, will they pay off or not? So that's what this video is about. It's going to be kind of a medium length video, and we're going to be using a lot of software to kind of illustrate what we're doing. I hope it's for you, and if so, hang around and we'll get stuck in. So you've got a project in mind, and you think, all right, okay, how do I estimate the savings from it? Well, a couple of things to think about first. There's two kind of blocks to this, okay? The first block is, who are you estimating the savings for? What's the purpose? Now, if you say to me, what's the savings of an LED lighting refit, and you want an answer like that, I can give it to you, right? And that will give you a rough idea, a rough ballpark. On the flip side, you might be saying, well, look, we're about to invest, £200,000 in this. A quick snap answer like that is not good enough. I need an investment sort of grade decision. And that's the first thing to think about is what's the purpose of the estimate? Do you need it to be just approximately correct, or do you need it to be, sort of penny perfect, or as close to penny perfect as you can get? Some of the projects that sort of I've certainly been involved with, it is back of envelope. Okay. Another project that I got involved with was a 3-month estimation. So it took 3 months to get an investment grade decision out on a piece of kit. And admittedly, that was some time ago now, and probably wouldn't do so much work on it as I would do now. But that was with a really quite significant amount of money, and it was a complicated project to do with kind of heat recovery and heat pumps. It was a complex project, and that was an investment grade decision. So the first thing you need to think about is, how accurate do you need the answer? How accurate do you need to have the savings calculations, etc. The problem you'll run into big time is, you'll find that it's only as good as the data you've got to put into it. So that if you want, for example, a penny perfect answer, but your data is really quite inaccurate, well, that's not going to go anywhere. So that's the first thing to consider, what the audience is. And a lot of the work we do kind of treads a middle path. And you might be thinking about, one of the ISO standards, whether it's an ISO 1468 or 1467 if we're in sort of product land, or ESOS, that kind of thing. We do a lot of work for those sorts of sort of standards. So we tread a middle ground is our sort of our go-to, where we do a reasonable amount of work. And for typical projects, that might be like 1 to 2 hours per project, looking at it, using all the AI that we have, etc. So that's kind of the norm. But you can go longer, you can go shorter. It really does depend. The second thing to think about, I said there's two structural pillars to thinking about savings. The second is, are you prioritizing a financial saving, or are you prioritizing an energy saving or a carbon saving? I'll give you an example. If you want to drive out all use of single-use plastics in your organization, you can do. It's a good idea, but it won't have a lot of effect on your carbon footprint, but it will have a lot of effect on your environmental sort of credentials. Similarly, if you look at doing a project, it's called load shedding, where if you've got a motor, when they start up, has a big spike of current draw. So if you've got a lot of motors starting at the same time, the current draw that you have on the grid is quite high. They kind of stack on top of each other. And if you then say, well, actually, I'm going to move that load to there. So I'm going to do this first, then wait a bit, then that, then a bit, then that, etc. The current's much lower. That means that your electricity bill, your sort of supply for your electricity, can have a lower peak demand, which will save you money, but it won't save you any energy. So that's prioritizing energy of a dot, 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 dot. Similarly, you might say, right, we're going to put in place a whole bunch of heat pumps, rip out the X, Y, Z, for example, gas boilers, etc. Put heat pumps in. Well, that's obviously going to save carbon, and over the long term probably will save you money. But, that's prioritizing the carbon savings over financial savings. So you've got all these kind of interplay of priorities going on. And I suppose what people are looking for is this happy path, this happy medium, sort of down the middle. So that's the background to it. What's the audience for? What's the audience for this? And second, what's the priorities? That said, let me dive into the software and I'll show you how we go about estimating savings for the kind of projects we get involved with. And, to put it in context, thousands of projects. So, you're needing some form of AI, and certainly that's what we use. So let's have a look at that. Let's dive in, shall we? So I just flip it across and here we get the Anistic sort of homepage. Now, what have we got here? This is all the usual stuff, but the thing we need is this one down here, projects. So there's projects and there's a list of projects in here. There's a demo account, so there's probably quite a few bits of repetition of stuff in there. So what you want to do if you want to estimate, or if we want to estimate a project, we go into add new project here. And that gives you a list of sort of a number of projects in here that you can choose from. I think down here, up here, you've also got the ability to sort of enter your own, but I'm going to choose a predefined one. Let's have a look. In fact, I am going to, so what would be a cycle to work? How about that? All right, cycle to work scheme. We select it here. And what have we got? Right, so we've got a picture and we've got a description of what it is, and then the text that's going to go in the carbon reduction plan. Sometimes they are different, they're generally different, ones that's out published to the outside world, and this is kind of internal use. Up here we've got a series of sort of switches for monetary items. So how much does it cost? Well, it won't cost much to put it in a cycle to work. We don't call it, say it's going to be, I don't know, £1,000, largely of management time to set the thing up, etc. Operating, you might need a new bike shed or something like that. I don't know, but I don't know, put £100 in there. I don't think it will cost a lot to keep the scheme going. These boxes here are to do with the ESOS returns. So ESOS is a UK sort of compliance scheme. If you're in it, you probably know you're in it. And down here, it's got all of the sort of bits and bobs you need for filling in an ESOS return, be it the energy update 1 or the energy action plan. And let's just say, what is this? Is related to transport and the emissions to be saved. So where are we going to get our savings from? Probably in, let's just say it will be commuting. So where's commuting on this? Commuting 307. So it's in the commuting section. Okay, now that's all kind of setup stuff. Down here is where the AI sort of springs into life. And as I say, we've been going for a very long time. So our AI has got some pretty good data in it. And if I just press get info, I can go ahead and just press. Let's select a site. Let's say it's going to be from that operating period here. Let's say it's going to be on the Birmingham site here. If I press estimate savings, it will generate a saving for us. Because why? Let's just think that through. It knows what the project is. Yeah, this is the Anistic AI knows what the project is. It knows what site we're operating the project to, or which site it applies to. It knows the size of that site, where that site is. Okay, so it can make quite a good set of assumptions about the project, and it will come up. Admittedly, it does take a bit of time, I'll give you that, but it kind of populates these boxes up here for the energy savings involved. When it does, it will use the information it knows to get the result. And as I say, we've been going for a very long time. We've got a vast array of projects in the training data for the AI. So the AI is is pretty good. It's certainly, in the tests we've done, it's certainly more accurate than OpenAI, Gemini, Claude. They're the big ones we test it against, and you get a better quality output because we've got better quality training data. But you can get it more accurate by filling in the optional things here. So these are things that the AI just won't be able to know, and by filling these in, the current mode of transport for commuting, etc. What's the percentages of staff taking? By filling those in, let's say, for example, we expect 100% of the staff to come in, and let's say they all travel 50 miles. Let's say it's a London company, and everybody's schlepping in from the outside, etc. Let's say they by car is the sort of system here. When we press this, it will use this increased context here to get a better result, and eventually we should see the numbers up here sort of improve. So we're saying this one will save 30,000 kilowatt hours a year. Let's just see what it comes up with when the estimate comes back. There we go. Yeah, so it's upgraded it with those assumptions. Look, it's saying it's actually not going to be 30,000, it's more like 141,000. So it will give you the estimates here. These figures here, by the way, again, they're for ESOS returns, one of the UK standard, and they just make filling in all the paperwork super easy when you come to do it. Down here, we've got a couple of things. So we've got, an overview of the savings, etc. You've got the health warning down here, but this is the interesting part. This is the calculation methodology. This is all the assumptions and the working out, etc., etc., etc. So this allows us to check whether the AI has sort of come up with a sensible answer, and we can work through that and see, well, actually, do you know what? That assumption there is duff. And if you want to correct those assumptions, so say, for example, derived from blah, 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 there, you can just type that into this other information here and just say, well, don't assume that. Assume, instead of 0.07, assume 0.08 or whatever it is you want, but you can actually get a better estimate through. So we'd normally spin this a couple of times, just checking the output, blah, 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 etc. back there. But having said that, it's pretty darn good. We used to do this by hand. That was a nightmare. That was Excel. That was back in 2008, 2009. Then in the early 2010s, we put in, a programmatic solution to it. And now we've got this AI system, and we've done the training on the training data. It's just much better. So it's just fast, and it gives you pretty good results that you can use most of the time. So that's how we do it. If we go back to the sort of question that we posed ourselves, if we go back to the question we posed ourselves at the start, which is how do we estimate the savings associated with projects, you can do it manually. I've got nothing wrong with that at all. If you've got the time, the inclination, and the experience to sit down with Excel and sort of drive it all through, go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. It just takes a huge amount of time. Okay. How do we do it internally? Certainly for, sort of things like ESOS, SECR, science-based targets, IFRS, some of the stuff we're doing for CSRD. There's not a lot of projects going on with that at the moment, thanks to the Omnibus, bless their cotton socks. But, with one of those standards, that kind of ilk, this is how we do it. And the answers you get out of here are perfectly good enough to be used in reports like that, okay? Especially, as I say, if you've got good quality training data to sort of put guardrails around the answers you get. So there you go. I hope that was useful. I hope that you sort of see the process that we use and the kind of the level of detail we go into to estimate the savings, etc., etc. If you get any other questions, if you find that you need some help with ESOS, SECR, ESOS energy action plans or energy action plan updates or science-based targets or CSRD or IFRS, and then any other acronym you can shove in there, because let's face it, there's loads of them, then drop us a line, and if we can help, we certainly will. Okay, I hope that was good. See you next time.